Hi everyone, it's Obi Abuchi here with the Leading From Your Core podcast and Vodcast. This show is dedicated to helping leaders all around the world discover leadership wisdom, stories, and insights that will enable you to tap into the power of leading from the inside out. And our current season is focused on mental resilience among leaders. And I'm delighted to welcome on the show, Leonard Fom. Leonard is the founder of TIC Services Limited, a people-based learning and development, transformation and change agency with a mission to cultivate equity and inclusion by supporting management, leadership, and teams to develop high-performing work cultures. And Leonard has over 17 years work experience, has held senior finance management positions in the big four UK tier one banks, and now works as a management consultant in the area of transformation. Leonard, it is a joy to have you on the show.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for coming.
Wow. Thank you, Obi. Thank you for inviting me to join you on your podcast. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. I'm excited. When I heard you speak, and I will ask you to say a little bit more about yourself, but I heard you speak at a conference at the end of last year, and it was powerful. Your message, your demonstration of the importance of mental resilience. Some people can talk about it, and others can describe how they've lived it, and you described how you'd lived it. And so I was really keen to have you on the show, especially as we're talking about mental resilience. So thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you.
So let's start off. Just share a little bit more about yourself and what you enjoy most about being a leader.
Oh, fantastic. No, great question. And where do I start? So as you can see, humble beginnings. So heritage wise, I'm Nigerian descent. My parents came to the UK in the 80s. I have three brothers. I'm very close to my brothers, and I'm a family man. If you don't mind me asking, I also have a deep faith as well. But yeah, I've got a loving wife, 5 wonderful children, and they keep my feet grounded. To be honest, they keep me grounded, they keep me busy.
Is that where you cut your teeth on resilience?
Well, I think that's where it started. That's where it started for sure.
I've got 3 boys, so that's like, forget the leadership role, just in the home.
Exactly. I've got the war scars, just within the home. And so yeah, so that's sort of a background in terms of who I am as a family, man, etc. In terms of work, being in the corporate space, again, very hard, challenging environment sometimes to be in, also fun. But I've been in that space for, since I left university in 2004, pretty much. So I've been in that space for about 18 years now branching into sort of consulting, now that I've set up a consultancy firm for myself. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I don't know if you wanted me to share more.
Brilliant.
we'll get to that.
From before we go into the main theme of mental resilience, I just want to hear from a leadership perspective, what is it about leadership that you particularly enjoy most?
Yeah, I think transforming people's mindsets, and the ability to get them to think differently when they come up against things. And that's been demonstrated, like you said, in terms of life experience.
Sure.
But that's what I love about leadership, being able to adapt, adjust, and then also lead from example. So instead of just talking it, but living that out in terms of my character and my attributes.
Sure. I love that. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing about your story and a bit about who you are, so people get to know you. Our listeners and viewers always enjoy getting to get a deeper sense of who our guests are. And you said something that resonates with me deeply, because a big part of what I'm about is helping revolutionize people's mental game. And you said the thing you enjoy most about being a leader is helping transform mindsets so that when people come up against difficult moments, they can see it differently. And that's a reality, right? It's a reality of the day-to-day life in the workplace. We face challenges of all kinds, and last 18 months in particular, around the world, people have experienced difficulties and challenges. And how do we go remote, and how do we connect, and how do we still engage? How do we sell in a new way? How do we build a team in a new way? So we're facing challenges all the time. And I love that for you, a big part of leadership is helping people to see things differently, and just mentally, how do you react to difficult situations in a way that helps you be more, productive. So thanks for, just throwing that in there early on. And as someone who, you talked about walking your talk as well, I often explore what mental resilience means to people, but as I've already alluded to, I heard your story, and your story was just a demonstration of resilience and just some of the challenges you face. So could we go there straight away?
We could go straight in.
What are some of what's one of the biggest challenges you faced, and how did you remain resilient and focused through that challenge?
So where do I start? Like, there's lots of points along the journey. As you know, life is a journey, and I can dive in sort of in different stages. And I know you talked about the pandemic being one of the challenges across the globe. And in terms of, for me, I can talk about just a couple of years ago, we talk about 2020. So the beginning of 2020, I had just left the contract and was looking for new work, knowing that I was the breadwinner of my home. And bang, the pandemic came. Like, nobody was expecting it, out of the blue. I was thinking I was getting my next role. I was in the contest of at least 2 roles, but they were pulled straight away. And then I'm thinking, where do I turn to? I've already got certain commitments that I've already sort of spent, and I'm up against it, thinking, okay, I've got to provide. I need to support my family, and 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, no money coming in, but a lot of money going out. You start thinking about sort of how that I've seen this before, but I haven't seen it quite like the same, in this market. And the resilience just comes in to say, okay, how can you be adaptable in this space? Like, I have my hands, I've got my mind. So what do I start thinking of doing differently? The door's not opening there, but surely there's other paths and avenues. It takes you to be humble, because obviously I'm used to getting work in a certain field. But I was on my bike. I got on my bike, got a Deliveroo, starting to sort of deliver food. I think, okay, that's one way. What else can I do? I can coach people. How do I do that? Nobody knows who I am. So the best thing I could do was saying, how can I help? I started to ask people, especially founders of new startups, how can I help you? Offer up my services. And it was a switch in my mind frame in terms of knowing who I really am internally. My reflection on, actually my upbringing, in terms of how my parents were to others, and sort of how I've been brought up. That's played a part of it, but also my faith as well. How can I be generous, even though I might not have much at this moment of time? And by doing that for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, I kept on doing that until something broke through and came through for me. And whilst it
Wow.
was really, really tough,
Mm,
it really shaped me and helped me understand, actually, even when you're in the trenches, there's
mm,
growth taking place.
sure.
Even when you're up against it. I think I love boxing, and yeah, I don't know if you
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
but I'm amazed how boxers can stay in the pocket, up close, when someone's looking to smash them, and they're there in the pocket, like they're not scared to sort of move out of that, and they become comfortable even in the face of danger. And I got to a space in my mind where I felt, actually, even though I wasn't seeing anything, and even though there were small gains, I was
Sure.
learning lots about who I really was in terms of,
Wow.
um, what am I comfortable with? What do I like doing? How can I help
Mm,
certain people? Where can I help certain
mm,
people?
mm, mm.
Um, and seeing others change, because they were up against it as well, but seeing and helping them change was just, it was pure joy. It was nice seeing sort of
Wow.
how their
Wow.
businesses were beginning to thrive.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of it was free work. Some was a little bit of payment, so some pro bono,
Sure.
but a lot of it
Sure.
was free work. But the relationships built in that as well was really beautiful. I've got a lot
Wow.
of individuals who now have come back to me and said, look, Leonard, I love what you gave at those moments of time. I love
Sure.
the
Sure.
insights that you gave me to think outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that's just one incident, Obi. I know that's one. I know I didn't share that, but
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that. And that's such a rich story, a powerful story. When people are going at, you're facing a difficult moment, you're facing a challenging moment, it's very easy to think of, to wallow, right, in self-pity, or feel,
mm,
hey, life's difficult, or it's challenging, or we get fearful and we get scared. And yet what you've described there is, how do I look outside of myself in this moment? How can I ask questions like, how can I help people? So how can I be productive here, right? I still need money, I still need resources, but I've still got something to offer people.
mm,
I mean, that's incredibly powerful. And you also talked about this idea of just knowing who you are. And that's so relevant for me, because I was having a coaching conversation yesterday, and I was describing a really painful experience that I went through almost 10 years ago now, where I had written my first book and it was meant to be this amazing experience. And yet the economy was challenging, work had dried up, no clients were coming in, and financially things were just terrible. We were paying the mortgage on the credit card. It was a really difficult moment. And I had a wrestle as well with, who am I?
mm,
And at that point, I had defined myself as, I am what I do, I am my role, I am the money in the bank. And I had to learn to strip all of that away and say, actually, Obi, you're so much more than that. You're
mm,
not, you can't just equate, oh, you've got loads of money, that's it, you're great, or you haven't got loads of money, that's it, you're terrible. But when you can find yourself and be
mm,
really clear about who you are and what you've already described, I can imagine people are thinking, well, Leonard's a generous man. Leonard's a man who knows how to persevere. Leonard's a man who knows how to give. And that doesn't change even when you're going through difficult moments.
mm.
So that's incredibly powerful. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, has that always been the case for you? Or
Great, great, great
was there a
question.
switch at a
No, so
point at
that
which you
that
thought,
I
man,
think
I'm, yeah,
I think you asked a brilliant question, because initially I was trying to, and I don't know, but for me, I was trying to hit that door, kept going back to the door. So
sure.
I'll go for it. Like, the market had crashed, job roles had dried up, but I was thinking, surely if I call this person, I was going to another interview. No, it wasn't, and I kept on doing that for a number of weeks. Then it
Mm,
turned to months, and I was getting to a point of self-doubt.
Mm.
You know, have I lost that ability? How comes people aren't seeing me? Is it me? You know,
Sure.
that self, you know, imposter syndrome type thing
Mm.
in terms of,
Mm. Mm.
is it me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that self wallow, and negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember trying to do an exam again in the same field, saying, okay, maybe it might be just me to get qualified a bit more. So I did sort of some more examinations. And
Mm-hmm.
while I was sitting the paper, there was a light bulb going off because I saw a number of my friends moving forward. And I thought, actually, they're just moving forward. They, like, regardless of, it's not about the exams, they're doing things. I'm seeing certain individuals that I sort of look up to, and I'm thinking, okay, why am I here writing another exam to try and prove
Sure.
myself to get through the door?
Mm.
Um, Actually, I've got other things to offer. So, like you said, it was a sense of reflection and identity. My
Mm.
identity was initially all about what I did and
Mm.
where I was coming from. So a bit like what you shared, Obi.
Mm.
That's me. I'm meant to be in the corporate space. Then I started to
Mm-hmm.
realize maybe not. Maybe it might be actually, let's just enjoy my family, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
initially it was just me just pushing against the grain.
Sure.
Let's take time out. Let's really enjoy. And at the time, the weather was beautiful. I don't know if you remember in the
Yes.
first lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was, okay, let's chill out. Like, let's really just spend time at home. And that was probably the catalyst that started to get me to think, oh, actually, be me. Like, enjoy
Sure.
home, but also I need to provide. I can't be, you know, it's not just all
Mm-hmm.
enjoyment. There was a little break, obviously, with the government support that
Mm-hmm.
came through at the time. And again, like you said, I was starting to pay my mortgage on credit card. There was a little bit of a delay in terms of mortgage payments, but things started to dry up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, what else can I do? I like riding, and again, I started thinking, okay, how can I make maybe money through Deliveroo, because
Sure.
you know
Sure.
people are ordering online. So I thought, okay,
Yeah.
let's,
Yeah.
you know, straddle up, you know, forget, you know, this corporate identity that I've made myself out to be. I'm Leonards, and this is who I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah. Yeah.
go to work where I can. And then I start to realize, okay, tap people up within my social network.
Mm-hmm.
um I love startups. I love sort of, you know, the resilience within sort of founders and how they need to sort of persevere, but they need help, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to just connect with people and say, okay, how can I help you? I've got some time.
Mm.
And it just started to build. It started to build. And that word, how can I help? I don't know where I got that from, but I
Sure.
thought that's probably the best way I can be productive at this moment of time. And yeah, I think I learned from that actually self-reflection and knowing thyself, knowing who you are,
Mm. Mm.
goes
Mm.
beyond what you do.
Mm.
It goes way beyond what you do. and
Yeah. Yeah.
um and so that's sort of the process. I didn't quite land there straight
Sure,
away.
sure, yeah, 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 yeah.
It
And
was a
that's
process.
helpful. That's
Yeah.
helpful for people to hear, because I find that whenever it comes to success that we see, an individual, a star, a leader, whatever, we see the end result. What we don't always see is the journey, and
Mm,
particularly the mental journey. And what you've described there is that mental journey. There was a moments of self-doubt. There was a moments of that feeling of imposter syndrome. Maybe I no longer have what it takes. Maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I don't, I shouldn't be here. I don't have anything to offer. But then getting to a place where you realize, hey, I've got agency. And
mm,
maybe I cannot control my circumstances right now, but hey, I can take responsibility for Leonard's attitude
mm.
and what I'm doing here and do stuff. And it's just a matter of time.
It
So
is.
that's incredibly
Yeah.
powerful.
Mm,
I wanted to go back to something you described early on and just unpack that a little bit more. You talked about the boxing example.
yeah.
I enjoy some incredible boxing moments. one of my favorites. I've said to a few people before, I love movies and particularly watching them and drawing insights from them. And one of my favorite boxing movies is Cinderella Man with
Oh yeah, I've seen
Russell
that.
Crowe.
Yeah.
And he plays James J. Braddock, and James is this, upcoming talent, and then eventually breaks his hand, and so he can't box, and so he gets into this state of thinking, I no longer have what it takes. And then he has this lucky break, and he's up against, I've forgotten who he's up against, but his coach says to him, you've got to beat this from the inside out. You've got to fight this fight from the inside out. And there's something that you were describing earlier on, that this is an inside out game, right? There's just mentally, you've got to be in a good enough state to take those blows, because life will knock you down. And if you're not resilient on the inside, then that's it, you're out for the cold.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to
that? So I've seen the film. I know what you're talking about. I forgot the quotes, to be fair, so really helpful hearing from you. But I remember watching the film, being so inspired when I did. And I draw a lot of connections with sports and sports stars, coaches, etc. And I remember actually during the lockdown, I watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah. I watched it with my older boy. Yes.
Yeah. So fantastic. I grew up in that Jordan era in the 90s as he sort of was blowing up. Hey. And there was something that at the end, I think it was, I don't know if you remember, there was a moment where he's quite emotional, and they talk about like how he was a leader, but he led almost like with a strong hand.
Sure.
But he said that I have to take them on a journey, and we need to sort of get there. Not the exact quotes he said, but one thing that I loved about hearing in that whole program, Last Dance, was Michael Jordan's mental toughness, or his ability to really know himself. So I remember a commentator said something about, he's the person who's so fully present. He's never seen anyone more sure of himself than anyone else. That's what defines Michael Jordan, being fully present. And so your point about, and I know I didn't talk about the boxing, but your point about
totally fine,
about where it's hearing stuff like that helped me realize, actually, at this moment of time, where am I? Am I getting pulled apart by everything going on? Am I allowing my emotions to be pulled away because someone's succeeding? Or am I just being comfortable where I am on my own journey, where I am at this moment of time? And something will happen just, eventually, but just stay where you are. So I remember my wife used to challenge me, saying, look, why are you just speaking to someone and giving your time away? Like, how come you've got like 8 meetings today? There's no money. Like, how come you just keep on speaking to me? What was like? But I was so sure of myself. And I was very comfortable being there. After that break, in terms of when I put down the pen, because I actually didn't complete that exam. I actually closed the exam. I was in the exam, and I thought, no, I'm going to end. And at that point, I started to realize, what do I like doing? How can I help leaders be leaders in this moment of time? How can I help them see differently? How can I help them almost do the right thing to support their staff that they're responsible for, instead of making rash decisions? How can I motivate, a business owner who has a restaurant, but has nobody coming in? They don't know who he is on the high street. How can I get him to think slightly different, be creative, be playful in some sense, with what he has? And I love doing that. I was just enjoying just connecting the dots and thinking, okay, I might not have the answer, but maybe I know someone over here who might have the answer, and bring 2 people together, and that's all I need to do. And doing that just led me to realize, actually, that's my role. That's my role. And
Sure.
I think part of that is being a father, seeing that within my children. How can I be there for them? How can I coach them to sort of mold them and shape them and lead them and cultivate where they're going on their journey? So that fatherhood sort of spirit came out, and it was lovely to put in place. Um, but yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't.
I bet it wasn't. I bet it wasn't. And yet, what you have described over the last 2 decades, I've seen leaders play in 2 different spaces. They play in a space that's more egocentric, right? Which is driven by fear. It's fear of, hey, not having enough, fear of not looking good. And so you want to, I got to get more. I got to do this. I've got to, do better than that person. It's the comparison game as well. And then I see leaders play in a different space, a more service oriented space, where they think, hey, this ain't about me, right? I want to offer what I can and channel my ego in the service of others. And what you've described there is what that looks like. And some people might say, oh yeah, but Obi, that's ridiculous because you still need to put money on the table. Absolutely. But there was an energy, there was a positivity, and it was just a matter of time then the opportunities came for you. So
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
I feel fortunate, to be honest, Obi. I feel fortunate that I don't know what helped. Again, I do believe in the Holy Spirit. I do believe that was what prompted and enabled me to sort of see things differently. So I feel actually blessed that that it came at the right time. To be honest. And to be honest, like I should share another story just in terms of within this space in 2020. So George Floyd, everyone knew what happened in America and all the Black Lives Matter and what was kicking off there. And again, that was another sort of kink in my armory, because like it hit me and I thought, oh man, and I got quite down by it. And I think a lot of people did, from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And so there was heightened emotions across the world, but also closer to home. Within my children's school. So one of my daughters, actually 2 of my daughters at the time, eldest has now left the school, but 2 of my daughters were at school, and there was a racial incident that kicked off, which led to a lot of minorities, so Black and Asians, uprising against the school and the teachers, saying that how can there still be injustice? How comes you guys are not seeing and being sensitive to what's going on in the world effectively? And it led to, it's an all-girls school, the girls rioting. I've never seen this in school. Wow. They protested, banners on the wall, speeches, they didn't go to classrooms, etc. And the head teacher lost it. Like, she literally was broken. She didn't think her school would actually sort of get to where it went to. And I know a lot of parents were angry as well, and they were all sort of throwing rocks at the school. How could and I sat back and I knew my daughters were upset, but I thought this was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to step up, to support my children, but also to support the head teacher and bring about healing at the time. And I was fortunate, because I didn't have much work going on at the time, to call up the head teacher and say to her, it's going to be all right. I'm here to help. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really know where I was heading with this. I just said, I'm here to help. And she said, what can be done? And so I spent time chewing over it, and I pulled together a program to sort of bring about healing between the students and the teachers.
Wow.
A session to educate the teachers to be
Mm-hmm.
more culturally aware,
Mm-hmm.
more vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
more sensitive to sort of what
Mm-hmm.
racism is.
Mm-hmm.
So did a whole program for them for a number of months, and then also did stuff with the children, the students, to
Mm-hmm.
understand sort of their hurts and
Mm-hmm.
flesh them all out,
Mm-hmm.
and bring about actually healing from within the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And it was powerful because I didn't know I could do that, but I was able to
Wow.
do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it was one of those things that actually, because I was constantly just looking for opportunities to support, help,
Sure.
and be generous, it led to a
Mm.
huge piece of transformation um, from within the school. But again, I'm not saying that I know it all. It was just being
Mm-hmm.
like being humble and being available, being able to say, okay, these are my five loaves, two fishes. Like
Sure.
these are my hands, my feet. What can I offer
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
to support a need?
yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. There's a theme here with you,
Mm,
Leonard, that I think is powerful for any leader to take on board. The A big part of what helps you find energy and motivation and push through difficult things is being able to reframe it and see not all of the challenges and the difficulties, but what are the needs and what is it I can offer? What is it Leonard can offer? What is it, anyone can offer in that situation? And all of a sudden you start looking at it differently rather than, oh, this is terrible and this is, can't believe what's going on, and throwing rocks, to how can I do something to help make this right? And you said, how can I support? How can I help? How can I be generous here? And so a real powerful theme about being able to bounce back from difficult situations, look for the opportunities that you can to support, to help, to be generous, to meet a need.
mm,
And you will find that rather than looking at a situation as glass half empty, you'll start seeing as half full,
agree.
and tap into
Agree.
that personal agency. I
Mm,
can do something.
mm,
That's
mm.
amazing.
Totally agree. I think there's always an opportunity on the back foot. And coming back to boxing analogy, I don't know if you know, obviously you must know Floyd Mayweather,
Yeah,
but he was the master of defense and offense, right? He was always fighting on the back foot, right? And he had a great skill set of, okay, even when there's a lot of resistance,
sure.
I still come out of this success. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still going to be a winner, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so like you said, it's seeing opportunities even when there's negativity around.
Yeah,
That's
wow,
really
that's
important.
that's incredible. Final question then for you. What advice do you have for leaders about how best to develop their mental resilience?
Hmm.
What would you say?
Hmm. I definitely think there's a need to spend time with yourself in terms of reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also get trusted people around you that you feel can input into you, who are willing to talk truth,
Mm,
and I really love you in some sense. That love doesn't need to be fluffy, but there's tough
sure.
love, like talking
Yeah, yeah.
talking truth to see if you've got gaps,
Mm, mm,
and areas to sort of work on, but also be willing to not see things as they are in terms of just black and white, but
mm.
pausing to think, okay, from a different angle, different lens, how can I maybe approach a situation? So whether that's happening to you or to others,
Mm-hmm.
how can I be available and make myself available? And I say that with caution because I understand
Sure.
time is a factor. As a leader, you're probably pulled in multiple directions,
Mm,
and there's
mm,
an element of discipline to know sort of how much you can give.
mm-hmm.
Um, but where you feel you can give in your sphere of influence,
Mm-hmm.
try and look at getting involved. It might be in the home. It might also be outside the home. It's looking at things holistically and looking at ways to first look at yourself, be kind to yourself as well. I'm saying quite a lot here, Obi, but but it's looking within and seeing how you can apply yourself to certain situations, but don't overdo it. Don't think you can be Superman.
Sure.
Yeah. I think there's an
Yeah.
element of self-love that definitely needs to be thought about when you're looking to support others.
Brilliant. Some great tips there. So take that time to reflect and be with yourself. Know yourself. Have some great people around you, trusted people, people who love you, can speak life into you, and reframe situations that you are in and see the opportunities to give and to offer something of yourself there. Fantastic. Thank you, Leonard. Thanks for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story honestly and humbly. Have so much respect for you. Thank you. And to all our listeners and viewers, I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Leonard. And remember that if you want to be a courageous and resilient leader, if you want to be the sort of leader who lives life on purpose and with purpose, then it starts from the inside out. Have a great day and see you on the next show. Thanks again for coming, Leonard.
Thank you, Obi. Thank you for inviting me. And it's been wonderful. Thanks.
That's so great.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.